Hi, everybody. This is Dave Jones with Storm Center Communications and GeoCollaborate. This is an update on this Thursday, May 15th, 2025. And I have a couple of things I'm going to talk about during the day today. First of all, we got a lot of hot weather in the Midwest. Boy, record high temperatures throughout Texas. Some areas right now are in the low 100s. In the meantime, we have severe weather going on in the upper Midwest. This is the GOES satellite picture. I'm also going to talk about the upcoming hurricane season. But first, this update is for the All Hazards Consortium, the sensitive information sharing environment, where we share information across platforms so we can keep people like private sector liaisons and state emergency operations centers sharing information like this with private sector owner and operators around the country. Because when severe weather hits, extreme weather hits, we're all in the boat together, working to restore power, get communities back up on their feet. And we do have a hurricane season that's not too far around the corner. June 1st starts the hurricane season in the Atlantic Basin, but today, May 15th, starts the hurricane season in the Pacific. So I'll show you what's going on out there. Fortunately, nothing right now, and sea surface temperatures a little bit cooler off the Mexican coast right now. We'll get all into that, and hopefully it'll all make sense for you as we get on through this briefing. Have a couple of neat and interesting things to show you too, and may even take a quick look over in Hawaii to let you know what it looks like there. Well, this is the GOES satellite picture. You can see I've combined it with the sea surface temperature data. I'm going to be doing this a lot this upcoming hurricane season because sea surface temperatures are really a key ingredient for powering the development of tropical cyclones. Water temperatures have to be above about 79 degrees water temperature to form hurricanes, at least sustain them. They should really be in the low 80s to help form them. And we do have that with no problem. As a matter of fact, right here is the Gulf Stream. You can see that going right off the East Coast. Temperatures there are in the 80s. Coming around, look at that from the loop current. I'll move this up just a little bit more. You can see in the Caribbean, just off of Cuba, these temperatures are really warm, very warm, anomalously warm for this time of year. You can see the warm water coming up in that loop current into the Gulf. You can see it slightly moving there too, to the north a little bit, all because the GOES satellite image. Remember, this satellite is brand new. It's kind of like a new toy that we have in our toolbox, but this is showing high resolution infrared data so we can see the sea surface temperatures and we can see how these currents are moving. And you can see there's temperatures a little bit cooler now along the Gulf Coast. I'll show you that, but I'll tell you why that's the case too. But take a look at this warm water coming around Florida, even in Florida Bay. Look at that. Temperatures are very warm there. We got some big thunderstorms popping up off the coast of Cuba there. But nothing really to speak of as far as tropical weather goes. And that is great news for sure. I'm going to shift up here just a little bit to the north because this is a very vigorous low pressure system here that is causing right in here in the occlusion. This is an occluded front, severe weather coming through parts of Minnesota right now. And I do want to show you that on the radar data. So let's take a look at what's going on as far as that's concerned. Let's switch over to the radar data full screen. And you can see I've pulled right in. Let me point out a couple of places here. Here's St. Cloud, Minnesota right here. Here's Minneapolis right in here. Look at these severe thunderstorms moving along this occluded front. And these red boxes here, these are tornado warnings. Tornado warnings going on right now in these areas, and they are moving to the north. There are some pretty decent signatures here. Look at that hook echo right there. That's a tornado moving through. This looks like New Richmond County, headed on to the north there towards, where is that? That's towards Amory. So this is going to be a recorded video that I put up, but hopefully you're getting those local tornado warnings and you're taking cover in a basement. Even moving down here, these purple reflectivity signatures are hail. large hail in these storms as well. So I'm not going to go into deep detail with these because I'm not going live in this update. But even another secondary severe line with a tornado warning here near St. Cloud, just to the northwest of St. Cloud. And here's St. Cloud, so it's cleared out there now. But this is a time to take shelter. Whenever you see or hear about tornado warnings, and if you live in manufactured homes, you definitely want to seek a place of safety and shelter should these storms be moving towards you. I know many people look out and say, oh, that storm's never going to hit us. We never get hit with tornadoes. Well, until you do. And then all of a sudden, you have a major storm on your doorstep there. So I'm going to back out again here to the satellite image just to show you what it looks like, because that is a very well-defined low pressure system here in South Dakota, and it's slowly moving on up into parts of the Great Lakes area. I'll show you on the weather forecast model what that looks like. Okay, so I've moved away a little bit from the ocean and giving you an idea for what the Caribbean looks like and also the Gulf. But I want to dive a little bit closer and show you the temperature anomalies there. Then I want to give you a little briefing for what's expected for this upcoming hurricane season from Colorado State University, and NOAA will be releasing their forecast, their outlook for the season in the next week or so, and I'll bring you that as well. I don't have numbers for NOAA yet because they haven't issued them, but let's take a look right now at these sea surface temperature anomalies. So wherever you see here in blue, this is where we're seeing temperatures that are colder than average. Okay, so all of these areas in here off of Mexico that I'm highlighting, this is colder water than average. Why is that good news? Well, it's good news because we need warm water to have hurricanes develop in this area. And right now, conditions aren't that conducive for hurricanes to develop. Doesn't mean they can't. This just means that we're talking about 1 to 2 degrees Celsius below average. So we could still see development here. It's just conditions aren't right. You can see where it's a little bit warmer right here off the Mexican coast. Now I want to talk a little bit about the Gulf and the Atlantic Basin. Take a look in the Atlantic Basin. All of this orange, that is above average temperatures. So plenty warm in the Caribbean, and it is somewhat warm. The main development region has some neutral or slightly cooler than average sea surface temperatures in certain areas. So that's good news as well. If we can maintain that during the whole hurricane season, that may work to thwart some development of tropical cyclone activity, but we certainly don't expect that over the next several months. Now, I'm going to dive in a little bit closer to the Gulf because I want to show you what that looks like. This is updated every day from NOAA's Coral Reef Watch. This is a daily sea surface temperature anomaly data. It's 5 kilometers in resolution for you geeks out there that are wanting to know what the resolution of this data is. 5 kilometer pixels. But we can see some very interesting things here. There is a patch of below average sea surface temperatures right here. Look at this. And it even goes to the coastline. Look at this. Now, the reason why this is colder than average, remember last update or the update before I did over the last week or so, I showed it was very warm. As a matter of fact, the Gulf Coast states were having almost like a heat wave in the Gulf, an ocean heat wave. This is significantly cooled down. Why? Because remember, the Mississippi River comes out here and goes all around New Orleans and then goes up into the central part of the country. We had all that rain in Kentucky and in Tennessee. All that rain came down the Mississippi River, and it's emptying out into the Gulf right here at the tip of Louisiana. And what that has done has worked to cool those temperatures. So because we've had all that rain in the Midwest area, that cold temperature water was coming down the Mississippi, coming down the Ohio River, eventually into the Mississippi, and making it cooler than average. So that's not going to last, but see, we can see evidence of that freshwater and cooler water intrusion right around here, around Louisiana into the Gulf. And look, it mixes in with the rest of the Gulf. Now, that loop current is going to continue to be there. It's feeding and fed here by much warmer water in the Caribbean. So this will mix out. But hey, just if you happen to go into the water on the beaches of Mississippi and said, hey, this is kind of cold, it's because the Mississippi River was in flood stage from all that rain coming up from the Midwest. So there you have it for the sea surface temperature outlook. Now let's go over to the outlook for this hurricane season coming up. So here's what I want to start with. I'm going to start with the names. These are the names that we'll probably all be familiar with, unfortunately. Not all of them, hopefully. 21 names are out here. We don't want to see 21 storms, but these are the names this year. And it's a 6-year rotation in names. There's a group called the World Meteorological Organization, of which many nations are members of, and they come up with these names, and they rotate every 6 years. Every once in a while, though, when we have a very strong hurricane, one that's a Category 3, 4, or 5 storm that's made landfall, caused a lot of damage, perhaps deaths in islands or in the coastal communities in the United States or Mexico, Central America, then they will vote to retire that name. We have one name in this year's list that is a new name from that 6-year rotation because in 2019, if you remember, especially around the Bahamas, we had Hurricane Dorian. Hurricane Dorian was a Category 5 hurricane that just hovered over the northern Bahamas. It was a terrible hurricane, caused quite a bit of damage there, and that name was retired. And so now we have Dexter. Dexter is going to be the next name, could be a tropical storm, may not become a hurricane, but that's the next name in the D list that has been inserted into this rotating list. So these are the names: Andrea, Barry, Chantal, Dexter, Aaron, Ferdinand, Gabrielle, Umberto, Imelda, Jerry, Karen, Lorenzo, Melissa, Nestor, Olga, Pablo, Rebecca, Sebastian, Tanya, Van, and Wendy. 21 names. Hopefully we don't get to that many storms. And the reason that I colored Van and Wendy yellow is because those names in the rotating list over the entire time frame that hurricanes have been named, those two names have never been used. So that's wonderful. And hopefully this will be another season where we don't go down the list that far. And Dorian, again, replaced from 2019. It was such a devastating hurricane. It was replaced with Dexter. So that is the first graphic here that I wanted to show you. The next one here is the outlook. What does the outlook look like for this hurricane season? And what it looks like here is this is the forecast. So this is the forecast from, or outlook from, Colorado State University. You can see they are looking at 17 named storms for this season. Now here are the averages over here. 14.4 is the average for the number of storms that develop, number of named storms that develop in a season. So the forecast is for a slightly above average season with 17 storms. How many hurricanes? Colorado State University, Dr. Phil Klotzbach and his team think there will be 9 hurricanes. There's an average of 7. And how many major hurricanes? 4. Looking at a possibility of 4 major hurricanes. A major hurricane is defined as category 3, 4, or 5 that causes tremendous damage. And so they're thinking that there may be 4 storms. Now, this is just an outlook. It has nothing to do with how many storms may impact the United States or the Caribbean islands, Mexico. It has nothing to do with that. It's just a look at climatology and signals in the atmosphere, sea surface temperatures, what's expected that could lead to these number of storms. They will get updated. These outlooks get updated again in June or July, and then again in August or September. And we will bring that to you about the updates and what those numbers look like. So that are the numbers. Now, one other thing that Colorado State team does is they talk about the likelihood of landfall. And that's what this next slide is. They are looking at 17, 9, and 4 for the number of storms, hurricanes, and major hurricanes. But what they're saying is that they anticipate an above average probability for major hurricanes making landfall along the continental United States coastline. What do you do with this information? Well, it means that since we're getting close to hurricane season, you really need to think about having your hurricane plan. What are you going to do if a hurricane threatens your area, not just right along the coastline, but inland as well? What are you going to do when the National Hurricane Center issues a hurricane watch and then a hurricane warning when conditions are expected within 48 hours? And then storm surge warnings would be issued. And then inland flood warnings and inland high wind warnings. You really need to take some time to think about what would you do and have that hurricane kit with you, have it prepared, have a list of things that you need to put in the car. And it's best to have them ready because we all do it. We all procrastinate and we think we'll do it next week. All of a sudden, a hurricane is on top of you and you have to gather all your stuff together. Where did I put that list? I don't know where it is. So it's good to think about that. They also think that there's an above average probability for major hurricanes making landfall in the Caribbean as well. So those of you who live and reside and work in the Caribbean islands, please think about it. I know you do every year because you don't want to hear about these storms forming in the distant Atlantic heading towards you. Barbados, Puerto Rico, the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, the ABC Islands. You don't want to hear about these storms forming. Well, we're going to be bringing you information and giving you briefings and these YouTube updates whenever a suspicious cloud develops that could possibly become a tropical cyclone. So that's what they're doing for the outlooks. Now, what are some of the drivers that we look at for forecasting hurricanes, the amount of tropical cyclones and things like that? Oh, here's a graph, but I'm going to explain it. It looks a little bit easier here for what's going on. So what I want to do is show you what's happening with regard to this particular graph. It's all about sea surface temperatures, El Nino, La Nina, and all that. So I'm going to show you this. This blue area right here that I'm circling, this is the probability that we will have a La Nina. Remember what La Nina is? It's the cooling of the Pacific Ocean off of South America into the central part of the Pacific. When those temperatures are cooler, which we call La Nina, it tends to ease the wind shear along the tropical Atlantic Ocean and through the Caribbean. So when that wind shear is lower, it allows more storms to form. You don't have as much wind to blow off the tops of developing thunderstorms that could become hurricanes or tropical cyclones. So What's the bottom here? AMJ means April, May, and June. May, June, July. July, August, June, July, August, July, August, September. So you get the point. I've outlined here the major part of hurricane season. And what are we looking at? We're looking at an increased probability. This is a forecast now from the Climate Prediction Center at the National Weather Service in College Park, Maryland. They look at this stuff every single day, thinking about you and how they can better protect you by giving you long-term forecasts and outlooks. Well, this is why this is very helpful. If we see an increase in the probability of La Nina here, and I'm just putting little red dots, and then I'm just going to connect the line here. You can see there's an increased probability that we're going to have a La Nina during hurricane season, which means easing of wind shear and that we could have more likelihood chance of tropical cyclones, tropical storms, hurricanes developing. And so we're going to be watching that very, very closely. Okay, so that's what that looks like as far as that is concerned. I showed you the temperature anomalies. These are the sea surface temperature anomalies. This is an older one from April 30th, but I can go here to the real one, and that's this one right here, the sea surface temperature anomalies that were updated yesterday. So we look for a lot of these colors, the colors that are in the orange, the colors that are in the light blue, or even the purple means colder temperatures. The warmer colors like yellow, orange, red, and dark red are much warmer than average. So we're going to keep an eye on that very closely. And I'll go back here to my briefing slides because this old sea surface temperature anomaly showed when it was really warm in the Gulf Coast, but then that rain came down and came down into the Gulf and made it much cooler. So let me switch over to the next one here. So I'm going to look at the new products that we're going to be talking to you about during hurricane season. The National Hurricane Center, what they do after a season ends is they think about what products they want to improve for the next season. And then those products go into experimental mode for a year, a season or two, and then they become operational. So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about these new products. The first one here is the experimental cone graphic. Now you can see what this looks like. The experimental cone, you can see that cone, right? That cone is right here. It shows the probability of where the center of the storm is forecast to move. It is not a cone of damage. It's not expected damage. And so if you see a cone issued by the Hurricane Center and you say, oh, I'm 2 miles away from that cone, I'm not going to evacuate, that's a poor choice. That is not the damage cone. As a matter of fact, that's why the National Hurricane Center is going to issue inland watches and warnings that extend well out of the cone, so you don't focus on that cone. We may not be referring to the cone a lot during this season, but we're certainly going to explain the value of seeing advisories outside of the cone. So that is that particular one. The next one is that the Hurricane Center is going to be issuing RIP current risk maps. So this is a risk map for rip currents. So if you see a hurricane near the coastline, you're obviously going to have a chance for rip currents because of the winds. But look at this example over here. If there's a hurricane way out to sea, it can still generate waves that could induce rip currents in Cape Cod, for example, or along the Maryland, Delaware beaches, New Jersey, the Outer Banks of North Carolina, very susceptible to hurricanes that are way out to sea. Even a hurricane in the Pacific along Mexico could generate winds that create rip currents in Southeast Texas or even Southern California. So it doesn't matter if a storm is close by. it could generate waves that create rip current risk, and those can kill you. You get caught in a rip current and you don't know what to do, we'll be bringing you some safety rules when those are an issue, where you just swim parallel to the coastline, not in against a rip current. We'll be talking more about that. This one is just a lot of words, but I'm just going to say that the updated issuance criteria for potential tropical cyclones is something that the Weather Service has updated. So PTC, you might hear us talk about a potential tropical cyclone forming in this part of the ocean, because if the Hurricane Center thinks it's going to develop into a tropical storm or a hurricane in the next several days, by having it as a potential tropical cyclone, they can issue advisories, and they can issue those products up to 72 hours before the arrival of the storm. Whether it's named or not, they can issue an advisory. Here's an example. Potential tropical cyclone number 3 is in the Caribbean. It's expected to move into the Gulf and impact Louisiana in 3 days. So we're going to issue a tropical storm watch and a storm surge watch, even though no hurricane or tropical storm has formed yet. That's what this new product allows them to do. So this is an example in GeoCollaborate, what that cone of uncertainty looks like when it's forecast. But look at the wind field. These are forecast wind fields that extend well away from that cone of uncertainty. So you're going to be seeing this in GeoCollaborate. We'll be using this in our briefings, and we'll be explaining to you everything that's going on there. So that is a look at these updates from the National Hurricane Center. I think we do have one other one. Yeah, there's probabilistic storm surge products are going to be issued for Hawaii. We'll talk about that at the right time when a storm is out there to impact the Hawaiian Islands. And there's an update to the track forecast error cone. So I'll just say a couple of words about this. The cone of uncertainty that you see issued has nothing to do with the individual storm that's being forecast. That cone is based on the accuracy of the Hurricane Center's forecast over previous years. So this year, they're updating the cone to be about 5 to 6% more narrow. It's going to, or 3 to 5% smaller. 3 to 5% smaller because of the accuracy of the Hurricane Center's forecasts and track have been getting better over the years. So that's why it's going to be a little bit smaller. In the Eastern North Pacific Basin, it's going to be 5 to 10% smaller because they've been even more accurate with the hurricane track forecast. Okay, I know that's a lot. You can go back and stop the YouTube video, rewind it a little bit, grab it back, play this part over again, just so you understand what's going on. But just know that we here at Storm Center Communications in the studio and in the Weather Center, we're going to be watching this very, very closely. We're going to be explaining to you what this means. And we're also going to be highlighting the importance of ocean observing systems, those buoys, those gliders, sail drones that may be deployed to intersect with hurricanes, the Hurricane Hunter aircraft that drop these dropsondes out of the airplane to measure the atmosphere to give us better information to put in numerical weather prediction models. That all helps us forecast hurricanes, both track and intensity, more accurately. So we're going to be taking time to show you this so you can really understand the value of these systems. So here we go back to the GOES East satellite picture. No tropical activity going on. We do have some thunderstorms in part east of eastern Hispaniola there. Here is Puerto Rico. It's a pretty decent day in Puerto Rico. Beautiful down there. And what you can see here is the southern jet stream. Look at this subtropical jet stream feeding into this low pressure system here, which is causing a lot of shear, changing in wind direction with height. And that's why you have these tornado warnings coming out of this occluded front here in central parts of Minnesota. Let's check out the GOES West satellite. Here we go. I have the sea surface temperature data turned on for GOES West as well. Look at that hemispheric look all the way up to Alaska here. It looks like we have a big atmospheric river heading towards the west coast, doesn't it? Well, fear not. This is not a deep, moisture-laden river of air. As a matter of fact, I can show you quickly what the atmospheric river forecast looks like from UCSD. So here we go. This is the atmospheric river forecast where we are highlighting this dot right here around San Francisco. We can look, here is right now. This is the past 7 days, and this is the future 7 days right here. So this is the forecast for the next 7 days. No atmospheric rivers are forecast. Everything is down here in the weak to non-existent area until we see them turn blue, green, yellow, orange, or red. We're not going to make a big deal out of all these clouds that look like they're headed to the west coast. So all of these clouds here that are coming in, you can see that they're really just low clouds, not really laden with a lot of rain, with a very strong jet stream here. And let's take you down here real quickly to the Hawaiian Islands. Okay, there we go. We're down into Hawaii. These are the Hawaiian Islands. Here's the big island right here. And here is Honolulu. This is even down towards Waikiki Beach. So we have the tropical trades blowing the clouds from east to west. And there's some high, thin cirrus clouds here. Looks like a beautiful day right there in Waikiki Beach. And what do you know? We can go and take a look at that right now. So here we go. I know it would be awful nice to be here right now. This is courtesy of IOOS, the Integrated Ocean Observing System. This is the beachfront Waikiki look in Hawaii. You can see those. Wow. Look at that. Let me see if I can draw on here. Look, here are the waves coming in like here, and they're just gently rolling in. I don't see any rip currents here. You can see some of the areas where you can snorkel and see the beautiful corals and growth there. Lots of people in the water. See, look at all these people just standing there and swimming. It is a beautiful day in Waikiki Beach. Why am I showing you this? Well, who doesn't like to look at Hawaii every once in a while, right? Beautiful day there. But we're going to be integrating ocean cameras that are situated around the nation to give you periodic updates from the Integrated Ocean Observing System. Every once in a while, if you want to see that Waikiki camera, let me know. I'll put it up here. But it's certainly a beautiful day out there. And once again, back to the satellite image full screen. Here's what it looks like. This is the full screen picture of the clouds in Hawaii. And there again, we are. This is where the camera is located, right around here in Waikiki. And no storms headed towards Hawaii. Now, I just want to switch back here to the east and over southern Texas because, boy, if you live in Texas, you have been having a heat wave to beat all heat waves. Why do I say that? Because you've been in the low 100s. Look at these temperatures right now. 107 degrees southwest Texas. This is really brutal. The first 100-degree day temperatures usually show up in late May or early June, perhaps even early July for 100-degree temperatures. But look at all these in the 90s. Temperatures really just unbearable in some cases with these 90s all throughout here, Texas, and even in Mexico. Look at this, 100 degrees in Mexico, Brownsville, 91 degrees. This has been a brutal heat wave. It's going to continue for the next day or two, and even heat advisories in effect in southern Texas. That's what these official National Weather Service advisories look like. I'm going to widen out here real quick to GeoCollaborate because I want to show you the extent of these advisories. Look at this. We have marine advisories off the west coast of California. We do have showers around Seattle. It's not any big atmospheric river, just scattered showers. And we have that storm system in the Dakotas with, look at this, all these severe thunderstorm warnings and some tornado warnings still in effect throughout parts of Wisconsin into Minnesota as well. And we also have here on the East Coast, this is a severe thunderstorm watch. This severe thunderstorm watch is in effect because we have the upper level low that's spinning up here around Ohio and Pennsylvania, but the sun has broken out in the mid-Atlantic area, and that is destabilizing the atmosphere. So there is a severe thunderstorm watch there. Severe thunderstorm watches in northern Arkansas, southeastern Missouri, and there's some storms breaking out there now. And look at all of these rivers that are in flood warning. Remember I talked about the Mississippi River coming down here? This is still in flood warning, and that water's still dumping out here to make that Gulf of Mexico cooler than average. And look at all these other rivers too in southern Louisiana. They're under flood warnings right now. Here's that heat advisory I talked about, and here are some marine advisories off the coast of Texas. We're going to be watching all these. As a matter of fact, we have a new capability here within GeoCollaborate and Storm Center Communications where we can show you what it looks like from an alert perspective. So what is this? This is a live alerting dashboard that we are using, and we're going to be using every update just to show you how many warnings have been issued right now. This update's live every 5 minutes. How many warnings have been issued around the country by the National Weather Service? How many watches have been issued? And how many advisories are in effect, from marine advisories to heat advisories up in Alaska? There's still freezing spray warnings up in the Bering Sea because of the crabbers have to go out there, and mariners, you do not want to have freezing spray on your boat. That can cause it to get heavy and tip over. And then the emergencies down the bottom. What is that? Whenever there's a strong tornado headed towards a populated area, the National Weather Service will issue a tornado emergency. If there's heavy rain that happens and causes floods, like just a couple of days ago in Allegheny County, Maryland, there was a flash flood emergency in Western Port that was issued there. One person was killed who was taken away in the flood waters. A 12-year-old boy who was swept away in the rapid flood waters. The Weather Service will issue a flash flood emergency. That's what that bottom tally will count. How many of those emergencies have been issued by the National Weather Service? And keep in mind, the National Weather Service meteorologists are being decimated because of budget cuts and early retirement offerings. Already, the National Weather Service, prior to January, was operating at a deficit. They were trying to hire more people, get them in there to help in forecast offices. Now, the numbers are so bad, the National Weather Service is offering to pay for relocation costs for meteorologists within the National Weather Service in the central and northern parts of the country to move down into the Gulf Coast, Florida, and along the southeast coast to handle hurricane season because they are significantly understaffed, particularly in Houston, Texas, where they don't have much in the way of management there, and they don't have a radar technician there to help fix the radar should it go down. These are very difficult times, so please pay attention to your National Weather Service watches, warnings, and advisories, but also make sure you communicate to your local officials, your congressmen and women, that you need to have your National Weather Service employees in their offices, and they are way understaffed, which could lead to perhaps unwarned storm systems, and that really will be a tragedy if a storm really does hit without warning. So we're going to be tracking all of these live watches, warnings, and advisories and emergencies that are issued. This updates every 5 minutes here. You can see the latest update here, 5:20 p.m. That was 4 minutes ago. It's going to update here again in just a couple of moments. So let's take a look at the forecast model. I know this has gone long. Sorry, it's had a little hurricane briefing and some other things in here, but I want to talk about the forecast models and what it looks like over the next several days. This is the GFS. This is the global forecast system from NOAA, and it's showing that strong low pressure system up here that's producing those severe thunderstorms and tornadoes out of this occlusion here. That's an occluded front. You can Google that. I'll explain what it is perhaps in a later video. But as we put this into motion, you can see what happens. This storm kind of spins around and eventually moves over the northern Great Lakes and weakens. But then we have the front that stretches across here and could give us some heavy rain, perhaps flooding rains during the morning early on Saturday. This is overnight, Friday night into Saturday. So in the next 48 hours, there could be heavy rain falling in the Ohio Valley, and then that will move to the east rather quickly and pass through and off the coast by Saturday afternoon. So that's good news. The heat wave as well will have broken somewhat. I'll show you those temperatures, but I'll take you into early next week to show you where some of the weather makers will be. Another low pressure system coming out of the mountains and causing perhaps some severe weather in Oklahoma and Kansas up into Nebraska. We're looking here at Sunday night into Monday. We'll be watching this as these develop. And we're also very concerned about the lack or the diminishing number of upper air stations that are releasing balloons at Weather Service offices. That's going down. We're seeing some degradation in weather model forecasts, but it's also been a very difficult period over the last 3 to 4 weeks for forecast models. So we can't say exactly that the loss of those balloons is causing weather forecast models to go awry, but we are keeping an eye on it. So this is what it looks like all the way out into midweek next week, Tuesday or so. This is Fantasyland, but this would be very promising if we can get more rain in the mid-Atlantic, because there are drought conditions, even though most areas have received anywhere from a half inch to 3, 4, 5 inches of rain. When it happens in too short of a time period, like Western Maryland, you get flash floods. Don't necessarily help out drought conditions all that much because it runs off so quickly. What about temperatures? This is the European model. This is a forecast. This is May 13th. I'm going to take you on into today. Let's go into May 15th, which is today. Look at these temperatures, well into the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 100s in the European model. But you can see even into Thursday, we're talking about that's today, actually, May 15th. Those 100-degree temperatures which have materialized. And I'll take you further out here into tomorrow. This looks like Friday afternoon, 100s again. So the heat wave continues in Texas, moving on into Oklahoma, 80s on into parts of Chicago as well into the upper Midwest here, even 70s, almost 80 degrees at the base of the Huron Lake Huron in Canada. I'll get that right. But then look, as we continue on and I move this forward into Saturday, temperatures still in the high 90s, 100s in southern Texas. Take you into Sunday afternoon. Again, temperatures in the high 90s to low 100s in Texas. So we'll be watching this very closely. Please, there are heat advisories in effect. Find some cooling stations if you can't remain cool during the night. So I'm going to end this. This has been way too long. I apologize for that, but I did want to give you some updated information here. And I also want to make sure that we are talking about hurricane season because it's right around the corner. Thanks so much for watching this update. I'm Dave Jones with Storm Center Communications and GeoCollaborate. Appreciate your attention. It's been for the All Hazards Consortium and the Sensitive Information Sharing Environment, and also you that are watching on YouTube. We really appreciate your comments and your feedback. Please watch out for yourself. Take care of yourself and take care of your neighbors. They really do appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.